Ever since Nick Saban decided to retire from coaching following the 2023 season, Alabama has fallen off. They went from averaging at least 11 wins on the season to a mere 9-4 record, ending the season with a bowl game loss to Michigan of all teams. And with the Big Ten looking more dominant than ever, it really begs the question, could Alabama even survive in the Big Ten? Well, today we are going to put that to the test. I am going to move Alabama to the Big Ten, and in their place, Nebraska will be joining the SEC to serve as our control group, just to see how an average Big Ten team would fare in the SEC. Oh, and a small disclaimer, last time I made a video like this where I put Ohio State in the SEC, I got a lot of comments complaining that I would hop into the games and help Ohio State win, which to be fair, I definitely did. So this time around, I am not going to interfere, and I'm going to let the simulation do its thing. Otherwise, let's get into this. Taking a look at the schedule before the season even starts, and wow, both teams have pretty brutal schedules, I'm not gonna lie. Alabama has a stretch where they play number 3 Ohio State, number 2 Penn State, number 6 Oregon, and number 8 LSU, followed up by the Iron Bowl against Auburn. I don't know if there are many teams in the NCAA that could survive that onslaught. And I would love to show you Nebraska's schedule, but I'm an idiot and I forgot to record it. But trust me, it's a typical SEC schedule, so it's gonna be brutal. First up on the season, Alabama is facing an unranked Florida State team. Shouldn't be too difficult as Alabama is almost 10 overall higher than them. This game is an insane back and forth to start, with both teams tied at 10 at half. Florida State takes the lead late, forcing Alabama to drive down the field looking to score. And Florida State forces a turnover on downs, and they win the game. Ty Simpson threw 3 interceptions, completing only 9 of his 20 attempts. Alabama should have absolutely steamrolled Florida State. But I mean, it's hard to win a game when your quarterback turns the ball over 3 times. Oh yeah, and despite this loss, Alabama remains ranked number 9 in the country somehow. But heading into week 2, they're looking to bounce back with a win against Northwestern. And things are looking scary as they're down 2 scores already in the first half. But in the second half, they finally got their act together and they pull ahead to win the game, 28-17. Ty Simpson had another 2 interceptions. Bro, that's not gonna cut it. If Alabama is gonna survive the Big Ten, they cannot be turning the ball over like that. And now riddle me this. Alabama wins the game versus Northwestern, right? And they somehow drop to number 22. Yeah, I don't know, man. This committee might be on something. But week 3 is going to be Alabama's first real taste of the Big Ten as they face off against a 2-0 USC. Another close game early, but heading into the fourth quarter, Alabama holds a 17-7 lead. This game should be all but over. But USC scores to make it 17-14. And guess who? Ty Simpson throws another interception, allowing USC to drive down and kick a field goal to send the game into overtime. Both teams score a touchdown, but Alabama is unable to come up with a 2-point conversion, and USC wins in an overtime thriller. Bro, if I'm Alabama, I think I'd be trying my backup quarterback at this point. Like, come on, this dude Ty is just not cutting it. So now, with a 1-2 record on the season, Alabama is looking to find any success against a 1-1 Wisconsin team. And bro, no, this game is insane. Alabama scored garbage points late to make it look like it was a close game, but you cannot tell me that Wisconsin didn't just dog walk them. The score was 21-9 with 24 seconds left in the fourth quarter. You've lost, bro. Just pack it up. And go figure, Ty Simpson, Lozman candidate, threw another 2 interceptions, 0 touchdowns. I don't know about you, but I could use a break from this turnover fest. Let's check in on Nebraska and see how they're doing in the SEC. 2-2? Honestly, not bad. They're doing better than Alabama so far, which is a bit surprising. In their first game, they faced USC, and they lost off a last-minute touchdown. Not only that, USC went for a walk-off 2-point conversion and got it. That's so tough. USC is seriously shaping up to be the heartbreak team this season. That's 2 teams so far that they've beat in the last second. And Nebraska followed that loss up by destroying Cincinnati. Their quarterback threw for 3 touchdowns with no interceptions. Somebody get this guy in the transfer portal immediately. I heard Alabama's looking. Following their bounce-back win, Nebraska would then win another game 21-7 over Arkansas, but unfortunately they would fall to Ole Miss 14-7, putting them right at the 2-2 record so far on the season. Back in the Big Ten, and Alabama is going to have to figure something out. This early part of the season was supposed to be easy. They still have that brutal stretch coming later in the season. And while something must have clicked in Alabama, because jumping ahead a little bit, they would manage to win their next 3 games straight, landing them at a 4-3 record. They would win a close matchup against Michigan State, barely pulling out in the end to a 20-17 victory. The following week, they had an absolute punt fest versus Rutgers in true Big Ten fashion. Nobody scored until the 3rd quarter. But thankfully, Alabama managed to put some points on the board and walk away with a 17-7 win. And for the first time all season, they looked in true form, as they would clobber Maryland 20-0. Their defense was insane. They were finally finding success on both sides of the ball. But now it was time to begin the grueling stretch, as the next week saw them matched up against number 7 Ohio State. The game is off to a rough start as Ohio State is able to take an early lead, but thankfully Alabama is able to put some points on the board and keep it close. Ohio State then responds back, widening their lead, but Alabama surprises everybody, managing to score again and bring it back to a 1-possession game. And now hold on, let's slow it down real fast so you can see exactly what happens, because this is insane. Alabama has a chance to score a touchdown with time expiring to take the lead and win the game. And Ohio State comes up with an insane red zone stop to hold on and defeat Alabama. And after that close loss to Ohio State, their next opponent would be ranked number 1 Penn State. Oh, good Lord, this is going to be brutal. Wait, what? They're actually winning? Holy shit, Alabama actually managed to upset the number 1 team in the nation. Ty Simpson redemption arc. He threw for 2 touchdowns and 0 interceptions. About time. Could this be the start of a comeback? Alabama is 5-4 on the season, and if they manage to win out, they could possibly salvage this season. The only problem is the next obstacle standing in their way is a number 11 Oregon team. But honestly, for the first time all season, I have hope for Alabama. They can do this. So the game starts off and... oh. Wow. Oh God. Ouch. Yeah, there's the Alabama team we know and love, back to their usual form. Oregon absolutely dominated them. But wait, I wonder how Nebraska's been doing this whole time. Dang, they're currently 6-4 with a 5-2 record in the SEC? Nebraska's been cooking this season. But now after all that, it was time for their most important game of the season against number 5 Texas A&M. If there was any game that could prove that they belong in the SEC, it was this one. The game began neck and neck as both teams traded scores back and forth. And as things came down to the wire, Nebraska would not be able to get it done, falling just short to Texas A&M with a final score of 27-19. And as for their last game of the regular season, it was a rivalry matchup against Iowa, and this one was never close. Nebraska pulled away early and absolutely clobbered Iowa, resulting in a regular season record of 7-5. But now, back to the Big Ten. And at this point, things are looking a little bleak for Alabama. But all they have to do is win one of their next 2 games versus either LSU or Auburn to secure bowl eligibility. And in a really interesting turn of events, Alabama decided to have a typical SEC defensive battle with LSU, posting a final score of 12-6. Ty Simpson had a horrible game again, completing only 48% of his passes and throwing 2 interceptions and 0 touchdowns. And with a 5-6 record on the season, everything has led up to this. The Iron Bowl versus their rival, Auburn. Can Alabama salvage their season and manage to at least make it to a bowl game? And what an insane game. A low-scoring, neck-and-neck battle to the death. And with time winding down, Alabama manages to kick the game-winning field goal. They did it! Alabama is bowl eligible. Somehow, despite a horrible start to the season, Alabama has managed to claw their way back and finish the regular season with a record of 6-6. And as we finish up the season, the bowl game matchups are revealed. Nebraska will be taking on Kansas in the Texas Bowl, and Alabama will be taking on, oh my God, a rematch versus Oregon. There's actually no way. They got absolutely demolished last time. First things first, Nebraska rolled into their bowl matchup still on fire from their regular season run. I wish I could say it was a close game, but Nebraska took care of business. They capped off an amazing first season in the SEC with a shutout bowl game win against Kansas, 21-0, and ending the season with an overall record of 8-5 and 5-3 in the SEC. And talk about a way to end the season, as if this wasn't poetic enough. Alabama's matchup versus Oregon would be insanely close, featuring several lead changes throughout and coming down to the wire. But unfortunately, much like their season, Alabama wouldn't be able to get it done and would come up just short. And with that loss, Alabama finishes the season with a record of 6-7. 5-5 in the Big Ten. And I know you're all dying to know Ty Simpson's season stats. He ended the season with 2,237 yards, 60% completion, 13 touchdowns to 12 interceptions. Nebraska's quarterback, however, was infinitely better, posting basically the same stats except 22 touchdowns to 4 interceptions. And oddly enough, for those curious, in this simulation, Ohio State beat Texas Tech in the national championship. And well, that brings our little experiment to a close. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. Does this prove that the Big Ten is harder than the SEC now? I think it just might. Anyways, thanks for watching, and I'll see you all in the next one. Peace.